Hey, Mr. Heath, I just wanted to share you another thing that I've been working on. And yes, I'm assuming you're going to tell me stop working on this shut, get out in the field, go sell something. And I totally understand that. But let me see if I can figure out how to do this screen share thing. Boom. Okay. So here is what I've been working on. I wanted to get your input, what you thought on these numbers. So I put together some numbers as far as goal setting, both for myself as well as other folks out in the field, if that would be beneficial to them. And really what it boils down to, it's like there's probably 100 numbers that you'd probably need to pay attention to. What my goal was to try to narrow it down to like the most absolute important numbers. And then also I've created some ranges. So what you'll see when you look here, like on the first one, am I not recording? Yeah, I'm recording. Okay. Sorry, I'm new at the Zoom thing. I don't have your kind of experience, but obviously the stuff on the left, the red is going to be red area, right? And so that would be areas that you know that you're in trouble, you want to avoid. But that being said, on the opposite end of the spectrum, it goes red again. And maybe you can think of a better way of doing it. And obviously I wouldn't leave it in this. I would, fancy this up a bit, but just to set the expectation, not that it's bad, but these numbers are typically not as sustainable as the stuff right here in the center. This may be, if you're living in this area, you're having either a really good week or good day or good month, or you're just an exceptional agent. But like the goal to me would be to set the goal for an agent that would be like, I would call a B-level agent, meaning I'm not the best agent, at a shooting for an A, but I'm not also not a C agent where I'm barely doing enough to survive. It's kind of like right in the middle, like a good enough agent, right? Is kind of how I describe it. So that's kind of the idea behind those numbers. But anywho, as far as the number one number I feel like is the most important is your return on investment. Basically what you spend on leads versus what you're getting back for it. I put 3x as a sustainable number that kind of shoot for. And then, obviously any lower would be bad. Any higher would be great. I know people that consistently do 5 to 10x per week, which is great, but just again, trying to shoot for a middle ground somewhere that's attainable for a new agent, right? Within the first 3 months of business. So moving on from there, I've added number of leads per week, which again, open to your input to make adjustments to these numbers as necessary. I put 35 as kind of the middle ground. Once you get up to 40 to 45, especially referring to direct mail, well, I guess maybe direct mail might be easier since they're closer together. But once you get on this higher spectrum, you're going to have to be putting in 50 or 60 hours a week to properly work these leads, because calling them, one day a week and then knocking them one time to me is not a properly working the lead, right? So, and then before the next week comes in, and then you're on to your new leads, which is something I've been guilty of doing. Said anything less than that's going to be hard to remain consistent and profitable, simply because there is economies of scale, meaning if you took a sample size of like, yeah, if I had 5 leads, I would know that I could sell 1, if not 2. But there's also a chance, because it's such a small pool of leads, that you could sell 0 or you could sell 5. It's just too small of a sample size. So the higher the number, the more likely you are to be consistent on your numbers overall. But if you get too many, then you're not really working them as thoroughly as you probably should have. So as a side note, I kind of made up these numbers here. These are numbers for direct mail, 1.25. I've heard DeFord mention 1.5, like he said, 40 direct mail or 60 Facebook leads would be equivalent. These would be kind of closer to what I've, experienced, based on my area. And then again, I kind of came up with another crazy number, and this may or may not be true of kind of think of it another way of 1 lead equals, I would say, an hour and a half per week, to be honest with you. So keep in mind, if you're doing 30 leads, to properly work those leads, calling them, knocking them, delivery notices, presentations, the whole 9 yards, like you're probably looking at 45 hours worth of work right here as a minimum. So anything more than that, maybe the person has a situation like me where it's hard to get out in the evenings and weekends because of children, and my spouse works and things of that nature. So, but anyways, it's just kind of a goal for folks, for brand new people to not otherwise know where to start, because I've seen that question come up in in the group chat before. So closing percentage of those leads, essentially, if I were to buy 35 leads, you can expect to make, close 20% of them. I've had weeks where I've sold I've never done worse than 10%, which 10% to me is pretty terrible. And I have had weeks where I have sold over 30%, like in the 40s, but obviously I knew that in that range again is something that's not typical and not typically sustainable, but aiming right around 20-25% would be a good number in my opinion. And we can make adjustments to these numbers as needed. Number of doors hit per week. So that would essentially mean the total number of your appointments, if you have an appointment setter, plus the door knocks, plus the folks that you only leave delivery notices only, because you could be in a situation where you only got 15 minutes before your next appointment, but you do have a door nearby and you don't want to knock it in case you get in, then you're running late to your scheduled appointment, that kind of situation. So you may want to just leave a delivery notice only. And this number is the one that I had the hardest time kind of coming up with a good solid number. I'm looking at 60 as a goal because in my experience, I would say I probably get a presentation on average, and I haven't tracked those numbers, but this is the reason why I'm starting to do this, but I would guesstimate that I get a presentation about 20% of the time, 1 in 5, and then sell half of those. So 1 in 10. So in this situation at 60, you're looking at 10 doors a day, 6 days a week. And, I've had days where I've hit, and I'm sure you have as well, 15, 20, 25 doors in a day, simply because nobody's home, nobody's answering. So you could definitely go over the 10, but I've also have situations where I've got 5 appointments and I'm running late at the end of the day. I can't even get to all of them. So I feel like 10 is a solid number to, on average, 10 doors a day is a good number on average to produce 1 sale per day, which to me would be a sustainable goal for somebody to try to stay inside the business. So moving down to presentations. So this number is a little bit different. This is presentations out of your total leads. And so I call appointments and presentations differently. An appointment is something that we've scheduled over the phone with, I have Sherry, whereas the presentations where you actually sat down and showed somebody some numbers. So you went through the whole spiel. So your goal would be to present to 40% of those total leads, which in this case, I think was 35. And then your secondary goal would be to close at least 40% of those leads of the presentations that you give. Now, I know most of the time, like our real goal is probably 50% on both of these. I set it at 40%. Just again, I'm looking at that B-level agent. What's a sustainable number that I can hit, that I can shoot for, that will, number one, allow me to stay alive in this business, and then number two, to still remain profitable. And these numbers, if you did 40%, that would equal the 20% closing ratio of your leads. So for example, just because it's easier math, if you had 40 leads, you close 20%, that's 8 sales, right? And out of 8 sales, you're probably going to keep 5 to 7 of those on the books without lapse. And man, if you can keep 5 to 7 policies a week, I'm pretty certain that that's sustainable income for people in most cases. So another number I added on here was average AP value, which for me has probably been a little bit higher than this. I haven't tracked it in a while, but the weeks that I have, it's been over 800, just because it's real easy to throw in a $1,200, $1,800 policy to bump your average up. Usually get one of those every week or every other week or so, right? But this is is like a sustainable number, right? I mean, anything less than this, you're going to be struggling. Anything higher than this is fantastic, and maybe it's sustainable for you. But to me, that would be an exceptional agent that would be writing business on average here. So, and then again, persistency, the goal being 90%. When I run my numbers, I always calculate it at 80%. I always assume 20% is going to fall off. Just as a safe measure, safe number, but this number would be a good number to shoot for. And I know anything less than 80, like you could get in trouble, or the possibility of getting let go from a carrier. And then obviously nobody probably writes 100%. If you do, you're just not writing enough business, at least in my opinion. So yeah, I just want to get your feedback. Obviously I don't think this is in a format that is presentable to send to send to our other agents. But if I can send this over to some kind of a graphic design person and make it look pretty and just have a down and dirty sheet, something that they can keep in their car or keep in their notebook, or just something to keep in the front of mind to kind of know, to kind of navigate them where they are in numbers. But again, that 3X number, the way that I came up with it is if you're closing 20% of your leads, and you're getting 35 leads, and or you're doing the 40 and 40 with an average of 75 or 750, that ends up being about a 3X return. If you spend, my average lead cost is $40, which is something I didn't put on here, but $40 lead cost and a $750 premium or AP out of that percentage, 20% of those leads usually returns about a 3X. So if you spend $1,000, you should be making about 3,000. So anyways, thoughts, concerns, questions, let me know, and let me know what to do from here. Thanks, buddy.